Knicks fans, what's going on? Tony Crow in the building. Knicks and bruises. Our panelists will be in shortly. Got a couple topics I want to talk about today. Get your input. So let me know in the chat what y'all thinking. Um, First thing I'm gonna be talking about. Well, I'm gonna go through the list. So number one, Trae Young, still trolling us, man. This guy's still trolling us. What are your thoughts? What do you think it means? Number one, I definitely think it's great for the rivalry that has been brewing, since the playoffs, and I love it personally. I'll get into that. Um, I got a question for you guys. What do you think our team is missing? And I don't mean a particular player, but more so a particular type of player. So, what do you guys think we're missing on this roster? Um, what's up, Steffa? Don, appreciate you joining. God bless. Your blackest time. And then my third topic I'm gonna talk about today is Kemba Walker and Derrick Rose. Can those two guys turn back the clock? You know, obviously, I'm not talking about can Derrick Rose become an MVP again. I'm not saying that. And obviously, Kemba's not gonna revert back to I don't know, first 3 years of Kimba. But can they turn back the clock and save some or bring back some of that energy from the youth? Queen Steph, appreciate you joining me.
Of course, always, my brother. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Awesome.
I just ran down what the topics are for today. I'll
Okay.
go through them with you. So the first thing we're gonna talk about, I'm gonna name all three, but the first thing we're gonna talk about is Trae Young. He's still trolling us.
I saw
So
that.
I'm gonna get your thoughts on that. We'll break it down, talk about what happened. Um, the next thing is a missing piece on the roster. So whether I'm not talking about a missing like the player, but more so the type of player.
Right.
What are we missing? Um, and then Derrick Rose, Kemba Walker. I think you caught the tail end of that. Can those guys, turn back the clock? Can they revert to some of their youth and where they was at I don't even want to say prime because I don't think Kimber's reached his prime yet. Um, and I think Derrick Rose obviously peaked early. You know, and if he didn't peak early, it's scary to think who he could have became had he not gotten all those injuries.
Right.
But we'll start off with Trae Young. Um, he was at WWE, I believe. I'm not familiar with wrestling anymore. That's like 30 years ago that I probably watched my last wrestling match. So I don't know the names, whether it was WWE, WWF, ACW, ECW, whatever. But
Right.
he was at the Garden. That's the most important part. He was brought out by a wrestler wearing a Kevin Knox jersey and brought Trae Young out to the Garden. Heard it from the crowd. I don't think the crowd appreciated it. Even though they were there for wrestling, I think a lot of those guys was Knicks fans, or at the very least knew the history of the Garden and what happened in
Right.
the playoffs.
Right.
Um, but your thoughts? What do you think it? Do you think it was intentional? Do you think it was a money play? Do you think it was a little bit of both? Obviously the Garden I would think had to been notified that what the plan was. So
Right.
did the Garden look at it as a marketing plan or a marketing strategy for this
Right.
brewing rivalry? Well, what do you think?
You think Madison Square Garden knew that he was going to call Trey Young up, that it wasn't spontaneous?
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
I mean, if they didn't know in advance, they knew with enough time. They didn't sneak him in. You know what
Right.
I mean? So even if
Right.
they didn't know in advance, they knew day of. They knew, you know what I mean, at the time. And if they weren't okay with it, which,
Right.
why not let it happen?
Right.
You know what I
So
mean?
I just want to be clear on the story because what I assumed, I didn't read the
Mm-hmm.
story. What I assumed was that he was in the audience and the guy, called him up and it was something spontaneous. So the story is that it was kind of written into the script already.
All right. I'll be honest too. I didn't read. I only watched a video clip. I
Right.
didn't have the sound on,
Right.
so everything I'm saying is assumption.
Okay.
Nothing is fact.
Okay.
But my assumptions are based off of my limited knowledge of wrestling, and
Okay.
it's all scripted. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean?
Gotcha.
It's all
Gotcha.
meticulously planned. And if the Garden knew ahead of time, to me, that's good marketing for
Right.
this brewing rivalry. Let me find
Peter
who said.
Buzzin said he was part of the script.
Oh yeah,
Um,
100%. I believe that. Someone else said, "Oh, stuff for Don. He wants to be the villain, but
but
he's not." I mean,
I think he is I think he is a villain for Nick fans. You don't think?
I think he is a villain as well. I don't know if I don't know if he even wanted it per se, but I think he embraced it.
He had to know. He had to know if this was scripted and they said, "I'm gonna bring you up, to the stage." He had to know that Nick fans was not gonna be happy, and I think he accepted it because he
Yes.
likes trolling the Knicks.
Yes. Well, when I say I don't think that was his intention. I meant coming into the playoff series. I don't think
Oh,
he
I see.
came into the playoff series
Gotcha.
saying, "Oh, I'm going to be the
Yeah,
villain."
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
think
yeah,
I
yeah,
think us fans made
Right,
him the villain,
right,
and he accepted it and he embraced it.
right,
And again, kudos to him. He
right.
did what he was supposed to do in
Absolutely,
that atmosphere.
absolutely. Who
Tricky
was wearing
Nicky
the
says
Knox jersey? He was wearing the Knox
no, no, no,
jersey,
no.
or
The
the wrestler?
wrestler, the
Oh,
wrestler,
oh, oh.
the
Okay,
wrestler
okay.
that
I
that
was
called
about
him
to
out.
say, wow.
Um, Tricky Nicky says he's not Reggie Miller type of villain. Um, I mean, if he's not, who is? You know what I mean? If he's not, who's the closest thing to that we've seen? LeBron, and I don't even know if LeBron would have. In my brain, it wasn't even a Reggie Miller type thing with LeBron
No,
because and I'm not making a LeBron Michael comparison, but LeBron's actions was frowned upon to me, and I think if Michael Jordan was doing those type of things, it would have been frowned upon as well.
right,
So I wouldn't even put LeBron in that Reggie Miller trolling type of
right.
or villain type of atmosphere. But this guy here, man, he's accepting that role and embracing it,
Yeah,
and I think it's good for the sport. I think it's good for Atlanta. I think it's good for New York. I think it's great for if we meet in the playoffs again.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I
I think we would have to meet for it to become a rivalry, though. I don't know what it is. It a rivalry after just one meeting in the playoffs?
I mean, technically probably not, but putting all these little ingredients
Yeah,
in the meantime, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Because you can't do nothing until the playoffs come, and
Right,
and then we meet again. You know what I mean? But even Christmas Day, you know what I mean? The atmosphere of that game, it's
right,
all gonna lead into what I ultimately think is gonna be one of the better rivalries, of what the maybe the last
That's true.
10, 10, 15 years.
The
Now,
making of a rivalry,
yes,
right?
the making of,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and to me, it's gonna take us to beat them in a series for it actually to become a rivalry. They can't beat us 3 times in a row, and it's a rivalry because then we're getting dominated at that point. You know what I
I got
mean?
you. I got you.
Then it's
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
those get
yeah.
over the hump
Right,
situations.
right,
You know
right.
what I mean?
Got you.
I think we got to beat them. and then at that point, it is a rivalry, and we look forward to seeing them a third time, and I mean a fourth
Right.
time. Think
Right.
about them Heat
Mm.
Knicks rivalries, uh Nick Pacer rivalries as well. Um,
Yeah.
we both had our turn with you know what I mean, each of us had our turn. I think we dominated the Heat a little bit more at the time,
Hmm.
but they beat us. You know what I mean?
Oh
We
yeah.
lost to them, and then the same with Indiana. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think both teams do have to win against the other for it to officially become a rivalry. But I think yeah, it's the making of, like you said. I like the way you
Right.
worded that.
Yeah. 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 And out who was that? Tricky Nicky said he chose to be that villain. It's true. He didn't have to be. He chose to be a villain.
I don't know if he did though. I
Mm.
think we made him that. Think about it. 3 plays into the first playoff game, and it's F Trae Young
Right, but
from the
his
crowd.
response made him into a villain, though.
Well, at that point, he what choice did he have? I don't. You think him playing just as well without the bow and without the the blowing kisses and things of that nature? Do you think he's still labeled the villain, or no?
I don't
No?
think so.
You
Not
you
without
think it's
that.
just
Not
okay?
without that. Because the Knicks are going to do that. The fans are going to do that anyway. Um, that's just what fans do. And I'm not saying, in no way am I saying he should not have responded. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying when he did what he did, that just solidified it. Like, it takes two to tangle. Like, if one person says whatever they say and you don't respond, it kind of goes away somewhat. Doesn't become that big a deal. But if you respond, now it's solidified. And when he responded that way, now it's solidified. Now every time he comes into the garden,
Yeah.
even
Oh,
for
not
a wrestling match,
yep. Now you're gonna get it.
now
You're
you're
gonna
gonna get
hear
it.
it.
But I'm
But
not mad
again,
at him.
I love it. I love it. I think it builds up that anticipation. You know what I mean, for the matchup. I think
Absolutely.
Christmas, like I said, Christmas Day, like like that in itself. It's Christmas Day. You're playing the team that beat you.
Right.
Those are all building and in the making of this rivalry. That game
Absolutely.
doesn't mean the same if it's the fifth game of the season.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean? Like now you talking about Christmas presents, holiday presents,
Right.
family time,
Right.
where New York is gonna be out there.
Yeah. And it makes
Um,
Christmas more exciting. Oh, I'm gonna go see my family. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna watch the Knicks play Atlanta on Christmas Day. So yeah,
beat Atlanta.
beat Atlanta. Right.
I'm
Right.
calling it. I'm calling it now. We beating them. Um, interesting enough, because even the fu chants, I would have preferred them saying literally saying fu instead of actually the word spelled out or spoken out. What do you thought? What are your thoughts on our behavior? During that game or during that series, and a Christmas Day atmosphere, definitely going to be a family filled arena. Your thoughts on if it
Yeah, I
continues,
would
if that
say,
trend continues?
you may not want to bring the babies and children into the game if you're concerned about it. Um, I don't think it's something I would prefer, but I don't really have a problem with it. I got to be honest. You know, talking about people's family and things like that. Crosses the line for me. Each of us have our own line to cross. But I'm okay with that. You know,
Yeah, it,
and he
it's
took the challenge too. No
he
doubt about
accepted
it.
it. Yeah, excuse me. You got to respect him for that as well. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
one of those things that I continue to say is superstars are born in the playoffs, and that man was born at Madison Square Garden. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he he let it be known that yeah, I was good in the regular season, but a superstar was born, and
Yeah.
I can't take that away from him.
at
Let me
all.
see if I can find a couple of comments to highlight. Tricky Nicky, laughing my soft. Not enough presents to make a happy Christmas unless the Knicks win that day. That's a fact. That's a fact. We got to win that Christmas Day game. I mean, that I will personally consider that my Christmas gift. I don't really care what I get from anyone else in
Right,
particular.
right, right.
I will take that and cherish it. A funny story. I think it was 2017 we played Christmas Day, and my friend at the time got me a nice 62-inch TV.
Hmm.
Um, so she gave it to me. I had it for about 2 weeks, but she was like, "You can't open it till Christmas," and I was like, "Even better," because the Knicks
Right,
played
right,
Christmas
right,
Day.
right,
So it was like I'm opening the present and setting it up and hooking up the cable just to watch that game, and yeah, we lost that game on Christmas, and then it was so weird looking at the TV after that, like, you know what I mean? Because that was my first experience with the TV.
right, right, right.
um, but yeah, we got to win that Christmas Day game for it to
No doubt.
be a present for us all. Um, but yeah, I mean, quick little subject on that. Yeah, I think he continues to troll us. I think he's in the position to do it. I respect it from him more than I would like to see it from us. I,
Hmm.
to me, we need to be humble. We need to be quiet. We need to let our game speak for itself. You know what I mean? We didn't win. We didn't win the series. We won a game. He won. He gets bragging rights at this point. You know what I mean? We want to say something. Let our game speak for it, and then we could start, utilizing some bragging rights.
Right.
Um, and I'm talking again in the playoffs. I'm not even talking regular season. We could sweep them in the regular season as we did last year. It means absolutely nothing. It was
It means,
proven.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
it was proven.
yeah. And a lot of us
Um,
said that even before the playoffs started, that it was a different game. I remember doing a show with all these bullet points on how the playoffs is different from the regular season, and how I thought the Knicks would be okay on each of those points. That show
mm,
did not age well.
mm,
The Knicks, we lost in five.
mm. We're gonna actually save that. Hopefully you remember, and we can find the video because we've been talking about a new show or a new segment. And
Hmm.
BK, shout out to Sim, and shout out to Isaiah because I believe it was his thought. Um, the hindsight show, and,
I
and, and
remember that.
so that would be a great topic. No shame to you.
Yeah,
You admitted it, so
yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean. And
Yeah,
we all have
we can
we
find. I
all
ain't got that many shows.
we all have takes that
Right.
haven't aged well. But
Right.
I think that would be a great episode for that segment, or a great segment. Um, but yeah, let's see who else we got. Tatface Joker NYC, salute to you. Thanks for joining. I don't recall you, so I'm assuming you're new to the channel. 55 wins, lose game 6, second round, maybe third round. I'll take 55 wins. um,
Third round is the Eastern Conference Finals.
yeah, yes, it is.
All right.
Yeah, I'll take that too. Take the semis, but as long as we progressing, I'll take it all. Um, Shot Powers, salute to you. Um, I recognize you, but thanks for joining. Always shout out to the new subscribers. Shout out to the new
Absolutely.
the new people to the channel. Thank you guys for checking me out. I guess we could probably move on to the next topic. I don't know if you guys understood it in the description, but my question was, what is this team missing? And when I say what are we missing, not necessarily a player, but the type of player. I seen early on someone had noted a defensive, I believe they said defensive power forward. or small forward or small forward defensive stopper. Um, I agree.
Yeah.
I think at this point, RJ is going to have to define that role. Yeah, there you go, defensive wing, Stephen Don. Shout out to you. Um, I agree. It's a need, but I think we have it. I think we're gonna see if we have it because I think RJ is gonna be put in that position, and that's the role he's gonna have to assume as the defender of the top guy in the on the wing on the opposite team. Um, I think me and Steph agree on one of the needs, but I'm gonna let her highlight it. So you go ahead and let them know what do you think
Yeah, I
is
mean,
one of those needs.
just like we talked about, and I know you and Sim talked about, and I agree, we talked about it as well. That bruiser, that Charles Oakley type, that Antonio Davis, or the Davis boys on
Mm-hmm.
Indiana. I think we are missing that. I think like we talked about, Taj is the closest we have to that, you know. And I'm not sure how much he's going to be on the floor. It does help to have that enforcer actually getting, um, getting playing time, right? It
Mm-hmm.
helps to have that bruiser on the floor. When Oakley was on the floor, nothing was going to happen to any other player on the team. Same thing with Mace, um, Xavier McDaniel.
McDaniel.
You,
Yep.
you know, and we just don't have that. And I think that's why I miss what's his name, Mooch. You know, who we got the
Yep.
first Mook. We got the first round pick, and I love Quickly, but that type of guy, that
Yep.
type of guy on this team. You're not pushing. Not only are you pushing him around, you're not pushing anybody else around on this team. Period. And I think what that does is that gives the other guys confidence as well. I know this guy got my back. So you know how you can act big and bad when you know
Mm-hmm.
somebody has your back. So I do think that that would probably bring more of a tougher attitude to the team. We don't have that. I think in the playoffs you kind of need it. I think that that's something that could change. I mean, some people may not believe this, but it could change the complexion of the game. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
about that Noel issue I keep bringing up. Against Atlanta when Herder I think like took his foot, pushed it up, and I forget the exact incident that happened out of bounds. With Bullock, somebody hit Bullock in the back.
Mm-hmm. And
None
then
of
ran
that.
with it.
Had it went down that way, it would have been, the refs would have had to, be in there,
Mm-hmm.
separating people. I'm not saying anybody would have left the bench because just what the rules are, but it would have been a fracas. Put it that way. It would have been a fracas, and we just don't have that. Even Noel was all calm and was like, "Don't do that," or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
whatever
Mm-hmm.
he said.
And not for nothing. Now, granted, I do not want Randall to be that guy that we're talking about.
Right,
I
right,
don't want him to be the enforcer,
right,
or the bruiser, as we said.
right,
But even in his, he was the one who retaliated, responded,
right, right,
and even his move, was somewhat weak.
and late.
It wasn't, it was definitely late. But I think a timeout had been called or something of the case. So
Right,
I think, obviously, yeah, it wasn't immediate, you know what I mean? But it was like the next opportunity that, you know what I mean? I don't think opportunities had passed in between. I think
right,
that was the next opportunity. Um, but you could tell his heart wasn't in it. You know what I mean? It was almost like a little statement, but it wasn't anything that was going to warrant. And granted, I'm not asking for this, but
right,
sometimes it is needed. It wasn't going to warrant a suspension
right,
or a fine. And you know, that's why I think we need a guy who is going to be able to sacrifice some money, sacrifice a game,
right,
and maybe
right,
put a guy on his butt if it's warranted.
right,
A Udonis Haslam type. So this is where maybe we disagree a little bit because I think it can be the 15 guy on the roster if it's the right 15. You know what I mean?
15th
It's not
guy.
going to be because you're the 15th guy. No,
Right,
you're
right,
just going to be that guy and happen to
right,
be the 15th guy.
right.
You
But they
know what I
got
mean?
Butler too. And to me,
Yes.
Butler is one of those guys. Now, he's not somebody that's gonna initiate it, in my opinion. He's not gonna search for it, but if it comes, he's
Hmm.
gonna respond.
Yeah. But I also think he probably keep it within a certain parameter. He's not gonna, what I mean. He's too valuable
Right, right.
to miss a game or two, or what I mean. He may miss some money. I think he'll sacrifice some money quick.
Hmm.
But I don't think he's gonna sacrifice some games. So my question to the chat and to you, Steph, is I mean, we agree we don't necessarily have that guy.
Hmm.
If someone on this roster was going to assume that role, who do you think it would be? I mean, to me personally, the closest guy to that, excuse me, would probably be Taj.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so. I agree.
but at this point of his career, and you think about Taj, and you think about one of those what's the word, sportsmanship award winners. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
somebody who. So is that even in his mo? You know, to be that guy. Like, granted, he's not gonna
Right,
take any crap.
right,
He is gonna
right,
stand up for his teammates.
right.
But is he
But I
willing to
think
go over that line?
probably not. But I don't know if a lot of guys would go over that line. Like Haslam is not gonna. He's on the bench. It's not like he's gonna come in the game and go over the line. Um, Butler, you know, he knows how valuable he is, so he's probably going to play it up to the line, probably not going
Hmm.
to go over. But I would, why can't Randall be a Butler? Really tough minded. Really, I'm not taking any mess off of you. Little pushing, a little shoving, but he knows where the line is, and he's
Hmm.
not gonna cross it. I don't see anybody else who's playing Mitch. Mm-mm.
See, I agree with you. I think Randall has that in him.
Hmm.
I just think because I think we've also seen it in him. You know what I mean?
Right,
We've seen him
right.
get a little angry on the court, and the only thing about it is I don't know if he's the guy that gets angry and plays better.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like from what I've witnessed, angry Julius Randle
Hmm.
um doesn't benefit us. I actually like the even kill, calm and collective Randall, the focused Randall. I think he's way more dangerous than from what I've seen from him so far.
Hmm.
Um.
So
So,
you
but
saying you
but
don't think that he can
I
he'll lose focus if he stands up for a teammate or stands up for himself?
no, I think this is what I've noticed. I don't think if he does that, it's a very thin line for number one will be the refs. I don't think the refs give him the
Yeah.
star treatment, the prefer
Hmm.
what's the word I'm looking at? The you know what I mean,
Preferential
the
treatment.
treatment exactly.
Right. Hmm.
I don't. So I think it's gonna be to our detriment more than it's gonna be to our benefit coming
Gotcha.
from him.
Gotcha.
I agree with you with Mook. I also think that
He would be perfect for this team. Perfect for this team.
but I also think it would have been a thin line with the rest with them too. But that's something acceptable. You know what I mean? Like he might have got tossed quick. He
Right.
might have got what I mean, fine quick.
Right.
Um, no benefit of the doubt coming from Mook.
Right. No doubt.
Um, I wonder if Fournier is that type of guy,
Oh, I think so. I forgot all about him.
and I wonder if he could assume that role. He's definitely a vocal enough guy. You
Remember
know what I
him and
mean?
KD was going at it.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, I forgot about
yes.
Fournier. Yeah. Yeah,
So
he's a tough guy.
and what are your thoughts? Because usually that comes from a big position, a power forward center position. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts of it coming from? a a relatively smaller guy.
Okay, so with mm, all right, so there's two types of toughness, right? There's that enforcer toughness where if I see you getting a little too physical with a guard on my team, the power forward, the center, I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna push you. I'm gonna brush up against you. The next time you go in the lane, I'm gonna foul you hard, just to send that message that I'm not gonna allow you to try to intimidate um, whoever, the point guard, small forward, whatever it is. That's a different type of toughness, and I think we do need that. But I think we also need that that dog toughness, that like I don't care what you do, you can't intimidate me. You're not gonna knock me off of my game. You can push me, you could do whatever you want to do, I'm gonna still score 20. And as a matter of fact, because you pissed me off, I'm dropping 30. We like those type of guys we need too. I think Fournier is more that second type of
Okay.
guy that you're not going to throw him off. The lights are not going to be too bright. And if you piss him off, he's going to focus in and he's going to play even better. I think he's
See,
that type of guy. But I don't think we have that first type of guy.
it's funny you say that because I think a lot of our guys fall in that category. I think RJ's that same guy. You know what I mean? You piss him off, he's gonna focus up and try to
Right,
drop 20 on you
right,
or
right,
or better. You know what I mean? I think Randall's that same guy too, but he has to focus up. You know what I mean?
right,
He can't let that emotion side
right,
get to him. So I think he goes
right,
in that boat. Um Kemba same way. I think you know what I mean. Mad Kemba, he might turn to cardiac Kemba.
right,
You know what I mean? Just because you pissed him
right,
off.
right,
Um,
right,
but yeah, I think we might be. Kylo Quinn was that guy as low
right,
on the bench that he was. You know what I mean.
right, right.
Um, so yeah, it's interesting. Can we get by without him if we don't have that guy or or is somebody gonna develop
Develop into that.
into that role? You know what I mean? But that that's a very interesting topic for me. Um,
Yeah. I mean, when you say, do we need that type of guy? We might. We might, when you're talking about getting over the hump as far as winning an actual championship, we might. We might. But I mean, there was teams that won it without that.
I mean,
Um,
even PJ Tucker was that. You know what I mean?
Milwaukee. Yeah.
Now he down with he down with Butler
Right.
and Haslam. Like
And I think Milwaukee is
they
gonna
got
miss
about half
him.
a team with that now.
I think Milwaukee is gonna miss him. I think those guys you tend to underestimate, those glue guys, those defensive guys, those tough guys. Not Miami. They value those guys. They don't underestimate them. But some teams do underestimate how important it is to have those dogs on your team. Yeah,
Soulfinger 12 says we could get over without that, but it's best to have one on the team makes life easier.
makes it.
I
Yeah, yeah.
agree.
I agree. I
I
agree.
agree. And especially for the guys that they're protecting. You know what I mean? You don't want RJ, you don't want Randall, you don't want Kemba, you don't want those guys turning around and getting injected because they're reacting to a hard foul or something of the case. You want
Right.
somebody else to step in.
Right.
Number one, it brings the whole team together because
Right.
it shows, oh, I don't care if you did that to him, you're not doing that to my teammate, and and things of that matter. So
Yeah. Yeah. Tricky Nikki brought up Lambeer. I don't know how far back the chat goes in terms of watching basketball. I go back to the early '80s. But yeah, Lambeer and Isaiah. Yeah, no doubt about it. Lambeer, you was not gonna rough Isaiah up. Period.
yeah,
Not without some comeback. From Lambeer.
Sim salute. Appreciate you joining.
Hold on. Peace.
Yes, sir.
Right now we're discussing missing piece on this roster, not player but player type. And I think the consensus with the three of us, if you want to throw a wrench in it, that's cool too. But a bruiser, an enforcer, I think we all agree that we don't have that guy on the team, or the question is, can someone on this team assume that role? So
Right. And Taj is the closest.
yeah, we agree that Taj is probably the closest to that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he's probably the closest. But what about Julius Randle?
Yeah, we talked about that.
We
Tony,
talked
if
about
I
it.
could put words into Tony's mouth, he seems to think that Randall sometimes he get caught up in his in emotions and it affects his game if he was to get angry like that.
See, I agree there. I think he does. He gets caught up in his emotion,
Yeah, I agree.
and he's the last person that you need to get kicked
Right.
out the game, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that does cause some kind of dilemma when you think about. I think you were just talking about it when I came in. Bill Laimbeer protect Isaiah
Ooh,
Thomas. Charles
yeah.
Oakley protected Patrick Ewing.
Yeah. He was protecting
100%.
another big, you know,
A bigger
a
big.
bigger big,
Bigger
right?
big.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
That's
man.
true.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
I
think
mean,
we
I'm not
have that
saying we
guy.
can't win without it, but it would be nice to have.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be
Yeah.
nice to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um. Thoughts on Fournier, being that type of player.
Hmm.
The reason I think he could do it, because he has, somebody in the chat said, French players aren't tough. But I'm gonna highlight the fact that he is from overseas, and that maybe being one that might give him a little bit of a leeway with the refs. You know what I mean? He may be able to get away with a little bit more aggression, a little bit more physicality. Um, and I'm saying in like a cut play in a after a hard foul or something of that nature than some of our American players. He also probably could say a few things that won't necessarily translate. You know what I mean? Being that it's not in English, you know what I mean. So he may be able to get away with to say a little bit more. And I don't think he's a pushover. You know what I mean. So
Right.
I think it's possible. Maybe with the smaller guys, but then as Steph brought up, we watched him get in Durant's face, and say what he had to say and say how he felt to Durant.
Right.
So I think it's possible it could come from a Fournier type, a little bit more expendable for a game. You know what I mean? If you
Tony keep
got,
talking about going all in and getting suspended. I'm just talking about stepping in between, letting them know.
I'm saying, I'm saying, if it happens, we don't want it happening with Randall. You know what I mean? I think we all agree on that. And I'm only saying the game. You get one game for one punch. So if it goes there, it goes there. Sometimes you got it.
Yeah.
What do you think it would mean though if it was Randall, as far as being a guy, being not only the best player on the team, but also the protector? Do you think that sends a different message to the rest of the team? Not anything bad, but just a different message to the rest of the team.
I
Like,
think so.
okay, I'm really gonna follow this guy now, or
Right.
something like that.
All right. As a fan, as a guy watching the game and things of that nature, I love it. But my main concern is, put it like this: if the refs are gonna accept him being that guy,
Mhm.
the enforcer, as well as what I mean, the number one guy, and they're not gonna have a quick whistle, or if he doesn't develop that reputation to where a hard foul is now a technical, where if this guy gave that same hard foul, it wouldn't necessarily. I don't want it to affect us negatively. You know what I mean? And I mean that like from the refereeing, from the perception throughout the league and things of that nature. But just physically, as a basketball standpoint, I would love it. But it's tough to be the best guy on the team and be like I don't even know. It's probably hard. It's hard for me to think of who's the best guy on the team and the enforcer. You know what I mean?
Right. I can't think of another
Yeah.
team where that's actually taking place. Where the best guy on the team is the enforcer. I
Right.
really can't think of maybe with the Kevin Garnett.
Good one.
You know,
Which team though? Because I mean, he had
Minnesota probably.
he had big Garnett, KG.
KG,
Yeah,
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 KG.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
KG.
He's probably the exception to the rule. 100%. I can see that. But it also never became a thing with the reps. You know what I mean? It never spoiled his reputation with the reps. They accepted, hey, that's who he is. You know what I mean? He talked to himself, even though he talking to other guys and things of that nature.
Right.
So
And,
he never got punished for it. So I mean that is a good example. That is a great example.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think with Kevin Garnett, it was kind of like, people just kind of knew who he was anyway. You know what I mean? So they weren't really gonna disrespect him. They was gonna give him a different level of respect. So he didn't have to go, get to the point where he had to get physical. You know what I'm saying? I think that respect factor played a lot into Kevin Garnett being able to be that enforcer type of guy. Yeah.
And a lot of his a lot of things he rarely did, or it wasn't what he did, it was what he said. You know
Right.
what I mean? So, you think about Carmelo going after him for what he said. You know what I mean? How do as a ref, how do you reprimand him for saying, you know what I mean? For
Yeah.
saying something. Especially now they could reprimand you for saying something to them, if you say something to the actual ref. But how do they reprimand? So I think his tactics, he was gonna get away with it because he was playing mind games with the player. I don't know how much that was physical than it was mental with him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
What
But
if? Oh,
that
go ahead, Steph. Go ahead, Steph.
it was mental, but you just knew he was a little half cocked. Like this guy, like the other team knew he wasn't somebody to mess with, even if he didn't like push and shove and do any of that. You kind of knew that. Nah, I'm gonna leave this guy.
Right.
I'm gonna leave
Right.
him alone.
Yeah.
But you ever I mean, it was when you young, you ever had like an older cousin or brother or whatever, and they be like, yo, just act crazy. They ain't gonna mess with you. You know what I mean? Like, so could it have been a little bit of that though? You know what I
Maybe,
mean? Like,
maybe.
because I don't recall him ever even having to being tested and then having to show out. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right,
it was
right.
kind of like he might have just slid. He might have just slid by with the. All right, let me just act crazy, and people gonna think I'm crazy.
Might
Hey,
have.
if it worked, it worked.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um.
But,
What if it's a team thing? So
Yeah,
maybe it's not just one
yeah,
person. If something
yeah.
happens, everybody on the squad runs over to that one person and kind of, maybe not even say that, just kind of surround or maybe not do anything physical, but surrounds that person like, yo, it's not happening. This is our brother right here.
But Sam, that didn't. It might be one of the new guys because remember the Noel incident. Remember the Bullock incident when he got pushed in the back? It didn't
Uh-huh.
happen. So
It
I don't
didn't
know
happen.
about the guys from last year if they're gonna develop that over a year. It might have to be something coming from the new guys.
Yeah, that's true.
mm.
That's true.
How'd you guys feel about that?
How I
How'd
didn't
you
like
guys
it.
feel? It
90s
definitely
Knicks, man.
it
That
definitely brought it definitely brought me back to Tim Thomas, but obviously, it wasn't as serious as the Tim Thomas foul in that situation. But I guess I had my immediate dislike of it, but I kind of just brushed it under the rug. Um, even Julius Randle responding with the Bullock situation, like you said, Steph, it wasn't immediate. You know what I mean? It could be considered late. And then me I don't think it was even hard enough to where it was effective. To me, it looked silly
Right.
because of the combination of it being late
Right.
and the combination of it not being a hard foul. You know what I mean? It's almost like why you holding me back or just pushing and acting like you're gonna fight type. You know what I mean? Like if you, but I also did. I don't want him to miss a game, so I was happy he. You know what I mean? It was half hearted. It was half hearted.
Right. Right.
Right.
But yeah, maybe it does. Maybe it is the team. I do like the team camaraderie. Somebody falls or does get fouled, you might see 5, 6 players come help him up. You
Right.
know what I mean? He only got 2 arms. You see everybody grabbing him and help him up. I do love that from this roster. Um, is there any other? I know a couple people mentioned a wing defender. I'm under the impression that RJ is gonna have to assume that role. So Sim, I don't know if you want to comment on that wing defender, or is there any other maybe position or type of player that you think is missing from this current roster?
Well, I definitely think a wing defender is missing. Reggie Bullock
Yeah.
obviously played that role for us last year, and I'm just not sure if RJ's ready, and I'm not sure if Evan Fournier can play that role. You
Right.
know what I mean? So I'm not exactly sure what we're gonna do when it comes time to play the Paul Georges and LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard and those guys. You know, what are we gonna do on the defensive side? And even when we got these guards, Kyrie's and those guys. And I'm not saying that Elfrid Payton did the best job in the world, but he was big and physical, and
Mm-hmm.
Right.
he could give those guys a little bit of trouble.
Right.
On the defensive side, I'm not sure if Kemba or Quickly. Obviously, Miles McBride can, and maybe this is where Miles McBride is going to make his bread and butter this season.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But, he can, he can help to give those guys some fits. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's one area that I'm definitely concerned about, and how we're going to do that on the defensive side of the ball. Because look, you're not going to stop those guys. We know that, right? Those guys are, super gifted and talented, but you at least want to make it tough for them. You want to make them have to think when they're out there on the floor. You want to make them have to, uh, I don't want to say worry, but feel like, hey, this guy's going to be up on me. He's going to make me work for
Right.
everything that I need.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to make me work for everything that I want to get, not need. I don't know if we have that kind of a wing defender that we know in the rotation right now. I mean, we don't have that kind of guy in the rotation
Yeah,
right now.
yeah. Not saying
No.
RJ is it. I think one that's gonna if he focused on that and his offensive numbers stay the same, I'm satisfied. Because I think long term that'll put him in a better position as far as one what we need on the roster. So it's recognizing a need and saying I'm gonna accept this role. You know what I mean, and let
Yeah.
everything else fall into place. Real quick, Alton Lee, he says when Peyton snapped. I'm assuming he's referring to my favorite Elfrid Payton play as a Nick, and that was putting Jay Crowder on his behind
Mm.
for that 3-pointer. When the game was well out of reach, y'all could have just ran the clock out or took a turnover, and because the game was done, and you trying to shoot threes at the end of the game, and I absolutely love that play. What one of my that might be one of my favorite Nick plays of I think that was 2 seasons ago now, but I loved it,
Right.
applauded it, and that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Who on our team is gonna do that? You know what I mean?
I
Mm-hmm.
don't know.
Yeah.
The only guy, as far from the guard standpoint, I don't know if Miles McBride is going to do that, especially as a
As a
rookie.
rookie,
Right.
But I think he's going to play tough and play physical.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think he can do that from the guard spot. in that wing position, I don't know if Quentin Grimes is going to be ready to be that tough defender from the wing position. But even if he is, I don't think he's going to be able to crack the lineup in order to be
Right, right,
that
right,
guy. That we rely on to do that. As far as the
right.
big man is concerned, and the only one with the big man has got to be, is Taj Gibson. That's the only guy from the big man spot
Yeah,
that I see is going to be
absolutely.
able to do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I got one more topic, but Sim, you missed the first topic, so I'm gonna bring it up real quick. Get your thoughts on it, and then we'll move on.
I did have one more thing that I think we need
Okay,
And me
in
too. But go ahead.
let's
I
go.
think we need, we have, we got Mitch, we got Nerlens Noel, but we need some more beef.
Some girth.
Yeah, we need some more beef. I don't even know how much better to say it. We got to have a guy that can bang down there. Julius Randle can bang, but you don't want him. He's not going to be banging with Joel Embiid and them guys. You know what I'm saying? So we need somebody who can take up space down low. I think, and we don't have
Yeah.
it. And I don't know where we're going to get it or how it's going to fit. On this team is currently constructed unless you move one of those guys.
Right. Mitch is 275. You don't think that's gonna?
We'll see. How much does Joel Embiid weigh?
I think he's like 265.
He looked like, yeah.
He looked bigger than that.
He looked bigger than that. I mean, let me look that up.
Joel Embiid
Pretty
is
sure.
80s, 280.
280. Okay.
280. Okay.
280. So, if Mitchell Robinson is 275, now he's a little bit longer and taller than Joel Embiid. So, it makes a little bit of a difference, but
Right.
He got to learn how to use it too.
you gotta learn how to use it.
Right.
He's not used to it.
Right.
And Sim, that's one of the reasons that I was one of the few guys that wanted, I'm glad we didn't do it, but wanted Drummond last year because I felt like his girth was a missing, something we were missing that down low. So I agree.
Right.
Steph, you said you had one as well.
Yeah, and just to say, and now Drummond is backing up Embiid.
Right.
That was like a
No.
match made in heaven for Philly. I was gonna say I mean, I don't know how we don't have a lot of roster spots, but I would have liked a more seasoned power forward behind Randall, just in case Obi didn't make. I mean, I know it's only like 18 minutes he's playing or 15 minutes he's playing, but if he didn't make the jump that we needed him to jump, I would have liked to had a Millsap or somebody that's not going to take up a lot of minutes, that's going to give you 15. If you need them 18 minutes, just in case Obi didn't make that jump. I would have liked to have seen that.
I like Millsap. I was definitely like I wouldn't have been mad if he got brought on. The one thing that I like about Obi, and I don't know, it's something that's kind of like hard to find out there, or being available out there. His skill set is not something that we're gonna replace. You know what I mean? Like you get a Millsap in, yeah, he's a veteran, he's savvy, he could pretty much do everything, shoot, post up, blah blah blah. But he doesn't have that athleticism. That
No, it's okay.
you know what I mean?
We could still start Obi. I would have just liked to have had somebody on the bench just in case he doesn't take that step. We have somebody that we can plug in. Right now, we have to be Taj. And I guess that's okay. But I'm not talking about as a starter, just a backup, just in case he just doesn't develop.
If he don't develop, throw Kevin Knox out there.
Hey,
and shout out to Nate because Nate brought that up a couple of weeks ago too. I remember on the show.
Oh, okay.
Saying, let's go get Paul Millsap, so that he can be, a veteran power forward for us.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now I get what you're saying though, because it's still up in the air on what Obi's going to be able to do.
Exactly.
For this team and how Tom Thibodeau is going to use them and all of that. Hopefully, Tom Thibodeau has a better idea on how he wants to use Obi this year.
Yeah,
I agree. The messed up thing is, Not to bring up this whole Knox Obi discussion again, but I felt like even I felt like they even used Obi as if he was Knox.
They did.
You know what I mean?
They
Right, right,
So
did.
it was like,
right,
man, like you and you know that might have been part of why at times he looked lost out there, etc., etc. Because
right.
I think they put him out there as if he had the skill
The
sets
skill
of a
set. Right,
Knox,
right.
and then Knox never made it back in the rotation. So I agree. I think we're gonna have to figure out some new and some more effective ways to utilize Obi.
Yeah,
Based off his skill set. But at the same time, I think put him in that position only is giving him growth and is gonna make him more of a all around player down the line. Um, because he started off in a position of discomfort. You know what I mean? So now once he gets in his comfort zone, he'll also be comfortable out there on the perimeter. You know what I mean? Out there doing some of the things that wasn't his strength. I think coming into the league. Um,
yeah. Go ahead.
no,
Right.
you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's like usually on a successful team like the Knicks. I mean, maybe we didn't think we were going to be successful as the season started, so that may have had something to do with it. Usually on a team like that, you don't gift minutes. Usually on a team like that successful, you don't gift minutes. And I know in the chat, people will say all the time, "How do you expect a guy to develop if he's only getting 10 minutes or 15 minutes?" And I say, "Look, you got to earn it. That little
Mhm.
time you get on the court, I don't care if it's 5 minutes, you got to earn it." And Obi clearly didn't earn it. And you just wonder what would have happened if we gifted Frank minutes? What would have happened if we gifted Knox minutes? Because to me, we gifted those minutes to Obi. I don't think he earned them, but he did get better as the season progressed. Would Frank have? Would Knox have? Had we stuck with them no matter what? Because remember, there was a stretch, that no matter what stretch with Obi. What if we would have did the same thing with Knox?
Right. You see,
And
I agree. I
I
agree.
agree. I think that was the argument that I think we all agreed on in the show earlier, and except the one guy that didn't agree. So Sim, real quick before I get into my last topic, the first topic was Trae Young. He's still trolling the Knicks. Your thoughts on his troll? What was it orchestrated? Did the Garden know about it? Is it a big marketing plan for both New York and Atlanta to get this?
Hmm.
To keep the buzz alive on this rivalry talk. What are your thoughts on that?
Do I think the Garden knew about it? I'm not sure the Garden knew about it. I don't know. It's hard to say. You figure that Vince McMahon and James Dolan, you figure they probably know each other and have conversations with each other and run in the same kind of circles. So he may call them up and said, "Hey, this is what we plan to do. Are you okay with this?" You
Right.
know what I mean? So it could have been, orchestrated with the Garden knowing about it just to keep, and the NBA knowing about it just to keep that buzz alive a little bit. Obviously, Trae Young knew that he was going there to troll the Knicks and the Garden crowd. He knew exactly what he was doing.
Right.
Um, it's fun. I'm not gonna lie, it's fun. It's fun. I'm not mad
I
at it.
love it.
It's fun. It's real fun. And there's gonna be people out there that like truly dislike Trae Young. I tell you what, when Kemba Walker decides he's gonna retire, or however, if he's not with the Knicks and the Knicks want Trae Young, I guarantee you that you want Trae Young on this team.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But it's
Right.
fun,
Right.
like but it's fun.
That
It's fun. This is what sports is about.
and that has been some of the side talk. So I'm gonna ask you and use two stuff real quick, and then we'll get into the last topic. Do you think Trae Young secretly wants to be a part of the Knicks?
Hmm.
Mm,
You you
that's
know you know when you were little when you young, um Sim, or even when you was young stuff, and the boy picked on you stuff, or Sim, you was the boy picking on the girl, and it was like you picking on her, but you know you
Like
secretly like her.
right.
You like her on
You
the
know what I mean?
L, on
Like,
the DL. Yeah.
right. It could be. It
Yeah.
could be. You know what I'm saying? It could be that. I don't know. Did the Knicks didn't have a chance to get him? I don't
No,
remember the draft, but the
No,
Knicks didn't
no,
have
no.
a
we
chance.
wanted them
Unless they would have traded, they would have
traded
had to
up.
trade up
To
to get
trade
him.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
yeah.
it could be, or he knows that, if he can, if he knows the history of the NBA, he knows how much uh um media coverage there was around Reggie Miller and the Knicks, all of those type of rivalries with the Knicks. He knows, hey, this could be a new rivalry that goes
Hmm.
into the history books.
Hmm.
And if he knows anything about hip hop music too, with New York and Atlanta, I
Hmm.
mean, it all kind of goes together and makes sense. And it could
Hmm.
be, it could be real fun if the Knicks face the Hawks again in the playoffs. I think if you see the Knicks and the Hawks again face off in the playoffs again this year,
Hmm.
you'll see entertainers from those cities, from New York and from Atlanta, come out, say stuff in the
Hmm.
media, be part of games, sideline, and all that kind of stuff.
Friendly wagers.
Yep,
You,
exactly.
you know, Stephen Don asked why I say that, and to explain. I mean, it's basically what I just said. When you was when I was a little kid, and I'm picking on a girl because I secretly like her. You know what I mean? I just see, and I'm not saying definitively, but he sees the attention the Knicks got. We were what, a game better than them, if not the same record last year. You know what I mean? He probably sees the acclaim, sees the attention he got in that first round.
Hmm.
It was by far the most attention he's got throughout the playoffs.
Hmm.
Even though his production didn't dip at all. You know what I mean? So he probably sees the potential of what the Garden can be
Hmm.
when we're on top. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. I'm not saying like specifically the Knicks and he always wanted to be a Knick or anything like that.
Right.
But and at the same time, it's true. He's embracing that villain role and he's doing it great.
Yeah, and knowing that the Knicks are always in need of a point guard.
Historically, right? I mean, we always in need
Always,
of a point guard.
always, no matter what, in need of a point guard. So he's,
Yeah.
he could be looking to saying one of these days I could be that guy.
Yep.
And you know what? I don't think anything that happened in the garden would turn him off from playing with us if that opportunity came. I don't think he would be like, "Oh, they was saying f me and they was giving me such a hard time, trolling me." I don't think that would even factor in as a negative.
Nope, I don't think so.
Well, I tell you this though, the maybe not that, but anything directed toward family members and things of that nature, the stuff that is completely out of bounds, and I don't think any of us real Knicks fans condone. Um, that may have been somewhat of a deterrent, if not for him, the family members themselves that were subjected to it.
Mm.
I don't want you playing for them. You know what I mean? The guys spitting on them and things of that nature, disgusting. That does not represent the Knicks. That does not represent true Knicks fans. Those are crazy people that would be crazy wherever they are in life.
Yeah,
Right.
no doubt
So
about it.
last topic. Before we switch over to Queens Court. Hope to see you guys there at Queens Court as well.
Absolutely.
Um, Derrick Rose, Kemba Walker. Can those two guys turn back the clock? Can we get? Obviously, I'm not asking for MVP Derrick Rose. That's a near impossibility. But can we get a version of that? Can we get a version of uh Charlotte's Kimba?
Mm.
Um,
Wow.
so can they turn the clock back? Um, I don't know if they both can do it. I think we got glimpses from Derrick Rose this past year of just the dominant point guard, the guy that is dominant in his role.
Right.
Especially as the sixth man. Not saying he tailed off or didn't do as good a job as a starter, because I think he still was that good.
Hmm.
Actually, you could argue he was better as a starter, but it, like Sim pointed out in the past, it took away from the overall team because we lost what that production that he gave us on the bench. So I think we got a glimpse from Derrick Rose. Um, Obviously we haven't seen Kimba yet this year. He is coming off 2 injury seasons, but to me personally, I don't consider him injury prone because prior to that, Kimba was considered an Iron Man in this league. You know what I mean? Like he was one of those guys that didn't miss games. Um, and I think he might have the most rest that he's gotten in the past 2 or 3 years or so. So I think that can only benefit him. And then seeing Rose accept the change in who he is today, and compared to who he was. If Kemba's gonna take a slight of a dip, if he does that, I think he will be fine. But my question is, can they turn the clock back?
Oh man. I think with Kemba, I think we'll see it in stretches. I think Kemba will be somewhere, 17 to 19 points per game. Right. Will he get up to 23, 24? I think he probably can. Right. I think he has the ability to do so. But, when he was with Charlotte, he had to score 23, 24 points a
Right.
game.
Right.
Right. He was the primary scorer. He had to do that. I don't think he has to do that with this team. And, if you're scoring 23, 24 points a game, you're putting a lot of wear on your body, your knees. I think a lot of wear. So I don't think we see that from him this year. Maybe in stretches, there may be nights when, Evan Fournier and Randall is off and you need RJ and Kemba to step up
Right.
and, be the guys out there. And, on those nights we see Kemba, get 25 points or something like that. And it might be nights when it's Kemba and Fournier or Kemba and Randall, but I don't think it's going to be every single night that he does it or has to do it. I actually think Kemba's going to play a little bit more of a facilitator's role this year.
Okay.
Not that he's not gonna score the basketball, he's gonna score, but I think maybe he'll be a little more of a facilitator this year than he has in the past. Let's say that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with it's me. I think Kimba will refine his game just like Derrick Rose. I don't think. I mean, his role is different than he was in Charlotte, right? So I
Mhm,
I don't see that. I see him being more of a facilitator, like Sim said, but I also see him playing more off the ball and people
mhm.
setting him up for catch and
Catch and
shoot
shoots.
opportunities as opposed to taking people off the dribble all the time, right? So I don't know if he turns it back to Charlotte, which is what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago,
Three.
um, 3 years ago. And we'll talk about this on the Queen's Call. We talk about the X factors, but if he does, it changes everything for the Knicks.
Yeah,
It
it does.
changes
Yeah,
everything for the Knicks.
yeah, it does.
But I see his game changing. I see that there'll be games which he'll take over if he's on that roll and give us 20, 25. And there may be games where he's 13, 15,
Mhm.
17, and somebody else. That's the good thing about our team. Different people can score, on different nights. So I don't think he turns it back to Charlotte, but I still think he's going to be very good for us. And like somebody said in the chat, I think we got the best of D Rose last year. I don't know if we can get any more out of him other than more games.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. I don't know if we can get more out of him. I mean, I still think he can probably give you 12 to 14 points a game, but you know, I don't want to see D Rose have to put up 25 points.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to see him have to do that.
something went wrong if he has to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
If he has to. Now, if he gets it, you know what I
That's
mean. Just
different,
because
right?
just because the ball is going in, hey, I'll take it.
Right. and,
Um,
there's going to be nights when he does get it. He's just hot. If he gets 25, I want to see it be on 10 shots.
mhm,
Right.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Right.
efficient.
Really efficient 10 shots,
Right.
12 shots or something like that. He really gets it in the flow of the offense. He's getting to the line that night, whatever. But I don't want to see him have to go. Yeah, you're right. Something went really, really wrong that night if Derrick Rose has to be the guy that's,
Right.
taking the team on his back.
Yeah, especially after what you just said. We might have a night where Randall and Barrett are off, and Kemba and Fournier carry us. You know what I mean? I can definitely see that. I'm actually looking forward to those type of games where two of our guys have an off night, but somehow we pull out a win because
Right.
two other guys stepped up. I
Right.
think that's great. All right, real quick, last question. You guys pick one guy out the starting lineup. Your choice. If Steph picks somebody, Sim, I'm gonna ask you to pick somebody else, and let me know a point of emphasis on that particular player. I will go last, so you guys could get the pick of your choice. Starting lineup only,
Right.
projected,
Right.
obviously.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm gonna pick RJ Barrett. And I would say I want to see more aggressiveness out of RJ Barrett. I think that he just allows the offense to come to him. And last season it came to him a lot because we didn't have a lot of options. This year we do. I think whatever he if he's going to continue to score 19 and some are saying 21, 23, that means he's going to have to go out there. He's going to have to take those shots, um, and be aggressive and not defer. So that's what I would like to see him to be a little more aggressive offensively, or or another role for him, which Tony, you talked about, being that glue guy for us. Like a lot of people are down on that Luau Deng comparison. I'm not saying that's his ceiling,
Hmm.
but to be a guy that can hit shots, can score 20 or so on any given night, but on other night maybe 13, 15, but he's a great defensive player for you and he's doing all of the little things for you. That's not a bad way to be in your third year on a team like this, right? And as a
Mhm.
matter of fact, now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm gonna switch and say that's what I would prefer.
Yeah,
That him
yeah,
just being that glue guy, taking the best defender on the other team. I think he's 6'7" now. That would be great. I'm really looking for 6'8". If you could give us one more inch, RJ, before training camp, I'd be great. But be that glue guy where on any given night he can get you 25, but he's
Mhm.
going to hit his shots. He's going to keep you on his toes. You can't keep him open. He's going to play great defense. He's going to do all the little things. On a team like this, that would be a great
Yeah.
role for him.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would.
yeah. And Dang was underrated. You talk about a 20-point game, 20-point per game scorer, or at least the potential to third option. You know what I mean? Kind of got overlooked a lot. And right about now, you could argue that RJ may be the third option on this team. So I actually like that comparison. I didn't initially, but it grew on me. So I actually like that Luau thing. Um, I'm gonna say floor for RJ
There you go.
rather than
There you
ceiling.
go. There you go.
Um,
Go.
who you got, Sim?
Julius Randle. I want to see Julius Randle as a point of emphasis for Julius Randle is learn to let the game come to him a little bit more. Right. I thought, he did a great job facilitating last year. He did what was needed, but still there were a lot of times where I felt like, he was playing faster than maybe the team was ready to get into the offense sometimes,
Hmm.
and bullying himself down low. And it would work because the defense would collapse and he'd be able to kick it out. But sometimes it was so hard for him to kick it out, right? Because he had 3 and 4 guys around him and he struggled to get the pass out.
Right.
And so he's working so hard. He was working so hard to make things happen. I want to see him play with more basketball IQ, right? And learn
Yeah.
how to see the floor, see the game, let things come to him, take what's given. He's still going to get his buckets. There's no doubt
Right.
about it,
Right.
right? But I think if he does that, we're going to have our offense is going to be so much more better,
Right.
right? Because with so many weapons on the floor, if he's patient when he has the ball in his hands,
Right.
without forcing the issue, then things are going to happen as long as guys are moving off the ball, moving without the ball. Things are
Right.
going to happen and things are going to open up, right? And so now there won't be so much emphasis on Julius Randle to cause that havoc and make the defense collapse. He'll be able to see the floor. Guys cutting to the basket will cause the defense to collapse. And
Right.
now he might get easier mid-range pull-ups, easier
Right.
three-point baskets. So I want to see him be a little bit more patient. He was more patient last year than he was in his first year with us. In his first year with us, he was all over the place, right? Always going too fast, trying to spin this, spin that. He was like the Tasmanian devil out there, right? Last year he slowed down a bit. I want to see him slow down a little bit more. Hopefully the game slows down. And that's basically what happens when you slow
Mm-hmm.
down. The game slows down for you, so you slow down a little bit because now you're seeing the game at a slower pace. And it's amazing, as a coach. I've coached games where the game is going so fast. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what it
Right.
is.
Right. Right.
It's
Right.
just
Right.
going
Right.
all over the
Right.
place. I don't know what's happening. Right. And then I've coached games where it seems really, really slow. And when it's really slow, I can see things happening on the floor and understand
Mm-hmm.
what's going to happen. And then
Right.
And you start seeing them beforehand.
right, then
Right.
you see things
Right.
beforehand.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm hoping that's where he can develop, by slowing down. The game slows down for him and he can just see things better out there. And I think that's going to make the offense run smoother.
All right, I agree. Shout out to the chat. It's me says if Randall does that, we're gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
I agree. G man for life, for life. Salute. Keep your head up, man. The Giants gonna be okay. Um,
We're gonna be
you
all right.
know,
I
they,
hope we're gonna be
I
all
hope
I mean,
so.
I hope so too. But gotta have faith, man. And then if not, we got the Knicks. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Um, Otherwise, shout out to you. He said, Mitchell Robinson, focusing, I guess, on staying healthy. I don't know how much of that is up to him, you know what I mean, or just chances of the basketball guys or whatever. But I'm gonna highlight Mitchell Robinson as well. Two particular areas I want him to focus on. I want him to up his rebounding, particularly defensive rebounding. I think he's fine offensively, but if that goes up, I'm happy with that too. But the number one things I want him to work on, because I think this, if he can perfect this, I think it's gonna skyrocket his game overall, and that's as simple as just setting good picks. Learn from Taj. Taj is probably one of the best um, guys setting picks in the league to this day at his age.
Mhm.
And it's all about timing. But a good pick compared to a bad pick, like literally changes everything. It changes everything for the guy who has the ball. It changes everything for your ability to be a threat as a lob guy. Obviously, if you pick up a jump shot, you'll be a pick and pop threat as well. But it also, a bad pick ends up being a turnover, like literally, instantly. A moving pick or things of that nature, or just makes a play not develop. But I think if he could really set a good pick, um, I think that'll open up his own offensive game. I think it'll open up the offensive uh room for the guard or the ball handler. And yeah, just I want to see double digit rebounds. I want to see 12, at least 12 rebounds this season from Mitch.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
would
thank
too.
you guys for joining.
I would too.
Knicks and Bruises, NBK fan, Queens Court, nothing but Knicks. Your blackest time. We out.